Hello and welcome to the AVForums podcast for the 9th of April 2014, and joining me on this edition is news editor Mark Hodgkinson.
My father taught me many things. Keep your friends close, but your enemies closer.
Movies editor Simon Crust.
I don't trust a doctor who can hardly speak English.
Games editor Mark Botwright.
Fredo!
Now,
it's quite good.
To any pedants out there, I will accept that is kind of post-Scent of a Woman intonation, but I don't care. It's more fun.
Audio reviewer Ed Selley.
He was stupid. I was lucky. I will visit him soon.
And assistant editor Steve Withers.
He's been dying of the same heart attack for the last 20 years.
We're going to start off with a favourite subject of ours, streaming. We seem to be talking about it more and more. Mark, tell us about this Amazon Fire TV. What is it, and why should we be bothered?
What it is it's very similar device to the likes of the Roku, the Apple TV, and somewhat similar to the Chromecast, Google's Chromecast. It's a media streaming box, so it's access to a variety of video streaming services. It's launched in the US now with Netflix, Pandora, Hulu. The support for YouTube, which was kind of surprising considering the Kindle Fire tablets don't have an app for that. The reason you should be bothered is Amazon are touting the processing power as 3 times that of the competition. It's got 4 times the RAM and a dedicated graphics chip, which means it can play some games. There's some games coming out for it, as we talked about on previous podcasts, was it last week before? There's an optional games controller with it, which is the hybrid of an OnLive and Xbox controller. It's going to be priced at $99 in the US. Which Amazon have subsequently come out and said that it's probably a bit of a loss leader. So central to the whole interface will be Amazon services, so their cloud music, primarily the Prime Instant Video service, which the voice search is limited to at present, it turns out. So that the voice search is no use for looking at the likes of Netflix. It's just another streaming box in a lot of ways, but you've got to imagine that Amazon will sell a lot of these things.
In the same way they kind of convince people that they can buy a Kindle tablet when they think it's something different and not just a normal tablet.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not exactly Android. It's a forked-off version of Android that the Amazon devices are on, hence why they didn't have YouTube on the Kindle tablets. It looks like the interface looks nice and simple. It's just you just standard tiled card style interface. It does 1080p, of course, up to 7. It can pass audio up to 7.1 as well, which the Roku does. I'd say it was very similar to a Roku 3, but they're touting this improved processing power. So we'll have to wait and see how much that actually matters in practice, because I've always found the Roku 3 to be extremely fast. It looks a good little device, priced well, and I'm sure it'll do well.
Is there a pretentious button on it?
Pretentious button? Not that I've noticed.
No. So we're not going to get that pretentious guy in the commercials with it.
Yes. I don't know what we'll get in terms of UK commercials. I mean, there's not even a UK launch date announced, but it'll happen.
There's a US version of the same Kindle advert, and it's not half as pretentious as the UK one. The UK one, you just want to punch the guy.
Are we talking about the one where he seems to be stalking the woman?
Yeah. On support.
Yeah.
Oh, that one.
Do you actually go through in a video sense to the person? Because that strikes me as the most dangerous thing in the world. I mean, can you imagine the drudgery of doing a phone support-based job, but then they actually get to see you? I mean, one of the only mitigating factors of doing technical support is that you can be an unshaven mess, and nobody honestly cares as long as you
swigging on your
whiskey.
whiskey. Swigging on your whiskey,
you only
smoking
wear your
tabs.
pants and a dressing gown, but you can.
Well, that's your working life, is it not, Ed? You only get dressed
Well, no.
to go.
Remember, my wife has people round for singing piano lessons, so I'm obliged to dress every single day. Do you know how much that disappoints me?
Ed is forced to wear trousers.
the tyranny of clothes.
Well, I was just going to say, Steve. I mean, yeah, you've got somebody staying with you at the minute. That must be a real shock to the system, having to put clothes on every day.
I was always fully clothed. Never did these podcasts without at least a 3-piece suit and a cravat. Occasionally a cigarette or cigar.
Yeah, okay. Moving on swiftly. What's this Google Android TV box thing? Is this the same thing?
The same thing over again.
This sounds like very much the same thing.
All right, okay.
I did a Google TV review last year before. Sony box. There's a bit of a clunky interface, a lack of apps designed for a set-top box. But this new rumoured device, which I would say was almost 100% going to come, it's basically a stripped-back version of that. Very much again in the style of the Roku or even this new Fire TV.
So this has got nothing to do with their Chrome thing at the minute. The Chrome, whatever you would call it.
Well, yeah, that's the curious thing, because they've just come out with the Chromecast, which is all about just casting content from your mobile device's app to the TV. But this is more of a traditional set-top box with a remote control and everything. So maybe it's just aimed at that slightly less tech-savvy market. That's all I can think of.
Well, a lot of TV manufacturers, say second or third tier TV manufacturers, at CES were using Android TV, Google TV as part of their platform. So it's kind of being rolled out across multiple different
yeah, I know.
providers.
Philips got one. What was the interface like on that? Have you seen that?
Not the Philips one. These are the Chinese manufacturers I was thinking of, actually, who are using Android TV. So I didn't get a chance to really get a good look at it. It was just sort of as a part of the advertising blurb at the stands. They had like Android TV, Google TV. It looked not dissimilar from what you'd already seen and reviewed, or slightly slicker.
Yeah.
They're all much for muchness at the end of the day. They're all basically ways of providing you with either apps, streaming content, or games.
Yeah.
If you look at Samsung's new smart platform for this year, it's not dissimilar from last year's, but one of the big differences is added a game platform, so there's more games available. So obviously people think that might be a way forward. We'll probably come on to that again in the game section when we talk about. I know Mark Botwright's made a comment about Amazon having a console thingy that's not a console. So I think
that's what we've just been talking about, isn't
it? Yeah. But it has got a controller. You can buy a separate controller, right? So it kind of could be used as a games console. But I think it signifies that maybe this is the last generation of consoles. Maybe people are gaming more and more in other ways.
It's a bold call. I think there's always going to be a reason to have dedicated consoles. I think, the only thing perhaps with streaming getting progressively better, there are going to be different models to, rent games and that kind of thing. But ultimately, it still comes down to the fact that you've got these, dedicated companies. Everyone's kind of approaching it from a different end, which is Amazon have created something that they're kind of backpedaling from anyone trying to call it a console of any kind. And they're offering games with it. At the other end of the spectrum, you've got, Microsoft desperately trying to kind of tout a multimedia device that's primarily a games console. And they're all kind of tiptoeing towards this center ground where you'll have, some kind of, one device to rule them all. Amazon have got the deep enough pockets to do it. But again, I think to a certain extent, some of the kind of choices of game that they're putting out perhaps shows the way they're looking at things. They've got this exclusive Sub-Zero, which is an FPS, which you think, oh, well, that's a fine game to kind of launch a console with, but it's said to have tower defense elements to it. And the average price of games, they're going to be $1.85. So you can see, perhaps that they're just looking at it from a completely different viewpoint to the traditional AAA blockbuster game, something like GTA that's going to accrue $1 billion but cost $150 million to make. They're looking at these kind of games where you're going to, microtransactions where you'll spend small amounts on little games and then just keep on topping up for extra levels and that kind of thing.
Well, that's me.
Yeah, basically it's powered like an Android, it's a top of the range Android smartphone, so obviously they'll port those games easy enough, and that's where it'll be.
That seems sensible, really. So, you say 150 million to develop and make $1 billion worldwide. Might make $1 billion worldwide, but will definitely cost 150 million to develop. It's quite a big gamble, isn't it? There have been plenty of other games that haven't delivered in the way that GTA 5 did.
Oh, exactly. And that's, Amazon have bought up Double Helix already. They've hired a couple of developers. One guy worked on Portal, the other Far Cry 2, a couple of designers, sorry. So, Amazon Games Studios will be taking off, and we'll soon hopefully see some kind of fledgling efforts from that. But it'll be interesting to see exactly what sphere they try to take it in, whether they will in any way try to compete with the traditional consoles, or, as I suspect, they'll just be kind of going down that kind of slightly hybrid mobile tablet style avenue.
As big a company as Amazon is, they've never yet turned a massive profit out of any of their businesses.
To be fair, they've never sought one as yet.
I was going to say, it's one of those kind of mega corporations that slowly, they're happy to kind of creep towards ubiquity, and domination will come in the future. They're Skynet, basically.
They'd have to pay tax if they made profits, wouldn't they?
Allegedly.
I live about half a mile from Skynet. It's a real thing. Skynet's a real thing. Skynet is our satellite defense system. Have we learned nothing from the movies, is what I say.
It's just a shame there's a bit of a lack of ambition. Just going after more of the, the Candy Crush sort of. I'll just continuously pay money because I'm a vacuous idiot clientele, rather than pushing the frontiers, making something noble. But hey, there you go.
Big money in Candy Crush.
I know there is. There's biblical amount. No one ever failed underestimating the extent of human stupidity. It doesn't make me feel any better about it.
So as we're talking about and wrapping up on streaming products and these new devices, Mark, you put a bit up on the homepage. For those that are not Sky subscribers, Game of Thrones is starting season 4. How do they get it?
2 ways you can do it legally, obviously. Don't require an annual Sky subscription. First option is take a $4.99 entertainment pass out with Now TV, which will get you like a simulcast live with the Sky Atlantic in SD, or you can hang on for a little bit and get it from the on-demand catalogue in 720p. So you can do that through the Now TV dedicated box, which is a little £10 streaming device. All the Rokus, LG TVs, Xbox 360. You can get it through UView, but I later learned that you can't actually get the entertainment path through UView, so that's a non-starter. So you can do it that way, or if you can take out a Sky Go subscription for your mobile device without being a Sky customer, which is £15 a month, which gets you access to all the Sky Go stuff.
You'd have to be pretty desperate to do that, though, wouldn't you? Because
you would be pretty desperate to go down that route, I think, because the quality won't be there.
Now TVs seems pretty obvious, and you can do it for a laptop, a PC.
Yeah, PC's SD only as well. So the browser experience is an SD only, so it's a non-starter for me. You'd have to 720p minimum, I reckon. So that's the Roku, the Now TV, or LG smart TVs. That can do it in 720p. $4.99 a month. If you hang on for about 3 or 4 weeks, you'll be able to save yourself a bit of money because they're available for 30 days on Now TV after first airing. So you could potentially just take 2 or 3 months subscription out with Now TV and see the lot. But if you've not seen any of it, then Series 1 to 3 is available as a box set as well.
And so also, you get access to Sky Atlantic, so you get all the other stuff too. All the other,
you get
things like True Detective we've been talking about previously, and Boardwalk Empire, and all the other HBO shows. So, I mean, much as I've been slacking off Sky and Rupert Murdoch for the last year, today I actually bought a $4.99. No, I could watch it.
He succumbed in the end.
Laptop and just stream it through my Apple TV. You're right. It's not it's only standard def, but
But you also get Discovery as well, which is pretty good.
No, actually, I mean, I object to paying the money, but I don't mind $4.99 a month for all that stuff. But I wouldn't really want the full package. But yeah, that's actually not bad value, in all honesty. And it same means I won't buy the box sets on Blu-ray, maybe. Well, I will for Game of Thrones, because I think that's really just got production values to warrant that. But lots of other things on HBO shows that I probably wouldn't bother buying now. I just watched them on Sky Atlantic or on the Now TV box.
Sky Atlantic stuff. That's the only thing I've been jealous of all these years. Sky Atlantic, to be honest. So yeah, I think I'll get some value out of it for 3 months, I reckon. Then probably forget to cancel it and pay it for another 6 months after it's
It's usually the case.
That's their business model, basically.
That's the business model.
Have you managed to catch up on? You up to speed on Person of Interest now, or are you still?
Oh, season 1 done. Season 2, it's up to episode 10 on Channel 5. Thanks for telling me about that. But yeah, it's probably a bit late, so I'll have to wait till it's on Netflix again.
Fair enough. Thoroughly enjoying that.
So we're all talking about streaming here, but Simon was really quite resistant the last time we discussed this. Simon, have you chilled out? Are you coming on side with streaming or not?
Nah. Nah. Blu-rays, mate. That's the way forward.
I definitely will come back to that. I think, Simon, at the end of this conversation, but unfortunately, I don't think it is the way forward.
No, I don't think so.
Whether
either.
we like it or not.
Yeah. Right, so to wrap up hardware news, let's look at some of the reviews that have gone up. So Cambridge Audio Aero 7.1 speaker package, that's gone up today at the time of recording, so it will be up there when the podcast goes live. Also the X2000 AV receiver from Denon and Denon soundbar, the S514. So all those reviews are up there. Steve, what have we got coming up in terms of reviews this week?
I've got the Epson TW7200, which is an interesting projector because it's around about £1,800, which means it's going to be competing directly with the new Sony HW40 that's being released very soon, and we'll be hopefully getting a look at the beginning of May. So that's going to be interesting. It looks like it includes most of the features you'll find on the TW900 that I reviewed last week. Obviously, there are a few differences in it's about £1,000 cheaper. So, given that the HW40 looks very similar to the HW55, but with things like dynamic iris missing, that's how it looks like the 7200 is also being sort of positioned. And I think that'll be an interesting projector to take a look at, and then obviously compare directly with the Sony when it comes in for review. And I've also got the BenQ W1400, which is yet another of the many BenQ projectors on the market. Another one of their 1080p projectors, DLP. So there's a for me this week. Mark?
Just this week, the Ollie Power 5s have been giving them a good run in. That's my excuse for being late. Then I'm pissing off on holiday for a few days. And then next week we'll come back with Samsung PVR Blu-ray player combo thing. I think I'm not very good at model numbers. I think it's the H8900, and also
sure?
Samsung's answer to Sonos in a way, multi-room speaker system that can actually be set up as a 4.0 one-room system.
They look really good. It's got like a central hub. It's the way that Samsung sell it certainly is that it's a lot easier to install than Sonos, which is probably true because Sonos, whilst it's got great brand recognition, isn't the easiest thing to install. This does look a lot simpler, and as you said, Mark, you can use it as a 4.0 system. It also will connect with Samsung's new lineup of TVs, connects with their new lineup of PVRs and Blu-ray players, it looks really interesting. The tech behind it looks very good.
Yeah, looking forward to that. That's something a bit different. So that'll be next week.
I was looking forward to it until I let
Sorry
you know.
about that. I really don't feel bad about that.
It makes a change, you nicking stuff off of him.
Yeah, to be fair, I think that's true. And I've also Sony TVs, more Sony stuff, Blu-ray player, and the 7 series.
All right, so that's the hardware coming up, and that wraps up hardware news. We're going to games next.
Wake up, Botwright.
Just finished a mouthful.
Yeah.
A mouthful of what?
Chicken curry.
I thought it was an apple.
Oh,
right. Are we ready? Okay, I've seen a couple of tweets about this ET game.
It's funny.
Yeah, it's supposed to be the worst game ever made or something like that. I mean, explain this story to me.
yeah. Basically, back in the days of the Atari 2600, when ET was coming out and was set to be a huge film and a huge kind of event of the year, Atari basically banked everything on making this game to tie in, and they tried to make sure that it would come out not only in the same year but also in the run up to Christmas. Unfortunately, there was kind of wranglings over, negotiations about rights and the like, so they could finally get it made. And once they'd got that all done, it left the guy who was designing it basically under 6 weeks to make the game, which is why it's a little bit of a mess. Yes, it's as you said, widely claimed to be the worst game ever made. It's if you've ever seen, there are some videos out there of like speed runs of it, and it just looks horrendously bad. I mean, even by kind of the threadbare Atari 2600 standards, it doesn't seem to have any kind of redeeming gameplay features to it. And basically, it kind of bombed so badly that it stuck a nail in the coffin of Atari, and also was a contributing factor to the 1983 video games crash. To the point where Atari decided to dump all the unsold cartridges in a landfill in New Mexico. Now, I'd always assumed this to be something of an apocryphal tale, But Microsoft were set to make a documentary. I think they announced it sometime towards the end of last year that they were going to make a bunch of exclusive content for, Xbox 360 and the Xbox One to kind of tie in with the whole idea about, Prime content and that kind of thing. And the first was going to be focusing on Atari and in particular, the big game that everyone tends to associate with them, which is the flop that was E.T. But yeah, it's finally come through that New Mexico Environmental Department have given the go-ahead for digging up the old landfill and seeing exactly what's there. It's said to be encased in concrete. The cartridges smashed, crushed beforehand, and according to the bastion of all good reporting, that is Wikipedia, it was a landfill chosen because they allowed dumping at night and wouldn't allow scavengers. So
was it encased in concrete so they couldn't escape or something?
Well, it's got the Indiana Jones something about it. It's been studied by top men.
Top men.
Yeah, but it's just, I think it's going to be fascinating just to see how much there is there, because, the kind of quantities that you're talking about to kind of cripple a company like Atari must have been huge. The fact that they had to kind of haggle about which landfill they wanted to send them to. If it all does turn out to be true, there could be a ridiculous amount of cartridges laying in the ground.
Will any of them still be intact, or are they all just destroyed?
I would think they'll all be kind of crushed. But who knows? Maybe there'll be one left, one surviving member.
They can put it in
it depends on the quantities, doesn't it? I mean, my favourite thing about it is that obviously years and years ago there was I don't think it never actually got released in its entirety, but Penn and Teller did a sort of were set to release a computer game, and one of the bits on it was it's Desert Bus, which you can actually watch a YouTube video of. It was designed to be the most boring game ever devised. And yet it still manages to be better than E.T., which is quite a remarkable achievement. I mean, it must be said, if you I believe on YouTube there is actually a video of someone playing Desert Bus to completion, which is quite something. I mean, that's 9 hours, I think. You know the prospect, the principle behind it, don't you?
Is it just a view out the window of a Desert Bus?
Well, yeah, you have to drive from, I don't know, somewhere at one end of a legitimate town to another legitimate town in a bus, and you can't exceed the speed limit. It pulls very slightly to the centre of the road, so you have to continuously make corrections. You can't just leave it and go. And if you make a single mistake, it takes you straight back to the beginning of the game. And then when you get to the other end, you just have to turn around and come back.
Sounds good.
I mean, I look forward to someone managing to make a microtransaction based version of it and make a fortune. So
stranger things have happened. I will point you to the fact that Goat Simulator did shoot to the top of the Steam charts.
I think that was after we talked about it last week.
Yeah.
No, we didn't. I cut all that out.
Oh, you didn't you?
No!
There's a 1.1 patch available for it soon as well, Goat Simulator. It adds multiplayer and local split screen multiplayer and a new map. I would dread to think.
Goats are more fun in large numbers, so
that's a great soundbite.
Yeah.
Director of the documentary is going to be Zach Penn, who was a writer for X2, X-Men The Last Stand, and The Avengers. I think it was the story for The Avengers. So, it's got some pedigree behind it. I'm going to watch it.
Good, you do that, and then you can report back on the podcast as to how good it actually is. Talking about podcast, Games Podcast is coming up next Monday, Mark, so what can we expect?
I've no doubt that we'll touch on Facebook and Oculus. Big games, I suppose, now that people have had a suitable amount of time with Titanfall. I don't know if people are sick to death of it, but no doubt that will get mentioned by Leon, who's certainly been playing a lot of it, and Infamous Second Son, which is the big, first really, really big exclusive for Sony's PS4.
And that's coming out when?
Today's the 7th. It's
exactly
the 14th.
It's exactly 7 days.
So
it's always the 14th.
That's next. Yeah, we pretend. Yeah, today's Wednesday. That's coming out next Monday.
Yeah. That's
And
right.
by the time this
The-
podcast goes out, Mark and the team will have started recording it.
Unlikely.
And the game you just mentioned is already up on the website, isn't it? The review.
Indeed, it is.
Second Son is.
So you're going to be talking about, the latest breaking game stuff then?
Games moves at a slower pace than your world. Okay, we're just happy with goat simulators and talking about games that were put in landfills 30 years ago.
Exciting stuff, it really is. Okay, so that wraps up games. Come back in a second when we talk movies.
God, internet again. It's, how bad it is with that internet. The last week, it went out from Tuesday. I didn't have anything until Friday, about 8 o'clock in the evening. That's
Did you
unbelievable.
actually have to go and buy a porno mag?
Just scour the hedges.
It doesn't work anymore.
It does.
You
Diligent-
You're talking from experience there, Ed.
It does in the
Maybe
West Country.
maybe in your neck of the woods, but the diligent porn dispersers of Milton Keynes seem to have retired these days.
It's because you've got straight roads.
Got plenty of hedgerows, mate. And surreptitious
Concrete
parkland.
cows.
Do you know actually we've got 2 sets of concrete cows? Little known fact.
Is it 2 sets or is
Two
it just one
different
set?
species of concrete.
No, we've got
cows.
2 sets. There are 2 identical sets. There's the original set is now in the shopping centre.
Or did they just have calves?
No. Honestly, there's two. There were 2 batches made, and then in the original location where the first set was, the spare set has now been put up. They're near the railway line. You can see them.
So someone said these cows were such a success. Let's
Yeah,
make a
sure.
sequel.
I can assure you, Mark, there is no unauthorized breeding in Milton Keynes.
Ultimately, for better or worse, it's what Milton Keynes is associated with for so many people, and we've now got 2 sets. So and they got Halloween costumes a couple of years ago. They were all done up in skull regalia. They look really cool.
Right, thanks for that.
Wow.
That's pretty tacky. Actually, what am I saying? Very
Yeah,
exaggerated.
Okay, so we're going to start with rolling the music now. I don't know if I've got Godfather music. I'll have to have a look. Mark's AV snack.
Right. Okay. So, in honour of the quotes, we've done Godfather themed recipe. Boiled horse's head. No, not really. I think most mafia people, without generalising too much, all eat
How many do you
clams
know?
with linguine, don't they? Yes, thanks. Right.
It's purely upon watching Sopranos and The Godfather you said that, haven't you? You disparage an
Yes.
entire nation.
Entire nation, criminals, man. Right.
Well,
so,
they've said it twice now. Now you've called all Italians criminals as well as eating clam shells and linguine.
Actually, I think he's factually correct there.
I mean, let's face it, Italy's there are 2 Italies. I mean, the northern bit is broadly speaking just like a slightly less reliable version of Europe, and then south of Rome, it's a third world country. It's just nobody bothered to tell the inhabitants.
all bets are off,
There's a
don't they?
third world with Gucci.
No, nice food, lovely scenery, gorgeous weather. Women are
Right,
quite
okay,
good,
so
yeah.
talking about food, come on, let's crack on with
Let's
this
get-
snack.
yeah, sorry, yes, the idle banter. Enough of that. Right, okay, so I'll keep with dead simple recipe. You can lose linguine or spaghetti, but linguine just sounds a bit cooler. You'll want some olive oil, a green pepper, a red pepper, a bit of garlic, either shallot or onion, all finely chopped, by the way, finely diced. And then you can use... If you can get clams, use clams by all means. If not, just get some mussels. Get your fishmonger to clean them up for you. You don't want any of that de-bearding business. Perhaps a handful of cherry tomatoes chopped in half. Maybe a shrimp or 2. Maybe some prawns. You can be fairly loose with what you put in as long as it cooks fast. So get your linguine boiling in a pot, salted water. Probably 8 to 10 minutes, generally what it takes. Drain and keep it in a little bit of hot water with a bit of oil. And you need to reserve a little bit, half a cup full of water with that. Fry up it is a separate pan. This is fry up your onions, pepper, garlic. What else did I say? That's probably it. Soften those up. 3 minutes or so. Chuck in your mussels. Chuck in your white wine, which I didn't mention. So you want a dry white, Italian wine. Just a glassful, a small glassful. Put a lid on that. 2 minutes, and your mussels should be cooked. You'll know when they're cooked because they'll reopen, and your shrimp / prawn will be pink. Toss in your linguine with the reserved water, which will thicken it a bit because the starch in the pasta will slightly thicken the sauce. Black pepper, fresh basil, and lemon wedges to finish.
That was all good apart from the seafood.
Yeah, apart from seafood, it wasn't really dedicated for you, that one. But I couldn't think of anything else. Mafiosery.
Well, surely cannoli would be the obvious one, wouldn't it? Leave the gun, bring the cannoli.
Yeah.
I actually had, funny enough, I had linguine tonight. I had linguine and tuna and capers.
Did you cook it yourself?
No, I did not cook it myself.
You're going to be lost. You're going to be lost when this guest goes, aren't you? You're going to be back to eating what we eating?
Out of a can.
Jaffa cake.
Whatever the neighbours threw away the previous day.
Jaffa cake. Popcorn.
Popcorn was a big component of my diet, I should say.
Popcorn and Nespresso.
And then breakfast of champions.
12 minutes, no more.
Right, Mr. Botwright, what did you think of that?
Sorry, finishing a mouthful.
Cooked it already. That was pretty good.
That was good. Yeah.
Bit too complex for me. 2 pans. Yeah.
You could try it in one, but it would be a mess.
Yeah.
Mark Hot Pot Botwright has just spoken.
I'll do a hot pot next week.
If you can't throw it in one, then it's no good.
Hang on, you're eating curry, aren't you? Where do you cook your rice?
Microwave.
Not you. Him.
But you cook your rice in the pan, and then the curry goes around the microwave. See, multitasking, that's fine. If I've got to use 2 different hobs, that way calamity lies.
It helps that you can cook the linguine in the microwave. There's no advantage to doing so.
To be honest, I'm struggling because I don't know what linguine looks like. So
It's big spaghetti, it's like square-edged rather than rounded.
Can you spell words with it?
Yeah. Easy when it's cooked and
but
it's dry.
requires some assembly.
Right, so it was a bit complicated for Mark. Simon?
That's a piece of piss, mate. Yeah, easy. I can do that. No, I'm not a huge fan of the shellfish stuff, chucking it in. I'd rather do it with a meatballs. I'd make meatballs and cook it that way.
So you like a bit of meat?
I like a bit of meat, mate. Oh,
He has a large ball in his mouth, don't you?
I've done meat.
Resting on his chin. That is a sauce stain, isn't it, Simon?
Ed, what did you think?
Oh, I'm a big fan. I have to admit that because obviously my wife is a vegetarian. Don't hold it against her. She
can eat fish then?
No. Fish
Chicken
aren't
stock?
vegetables.
Overall?
No. I said not an ethical vegetarian. There's no issue.
pudding?
I mean, we have leather sofas and stuff, but no, doesn't do. If it has a pulse, be it Piscine, avian, or actual mammalian, it still doesn't matter. So I mean, I generally do exclusively vegetarian versions of it. But do you know what? If the quality of the tomatoes and so on and so forth going into it are up to snuff, it genuinely doesn't need anything more. It is one of life's little pleasures, a genuinely good, tomato and basil sauce. Just the best bloody tomatoes you can get your hands on, and it's a joy. A wonderful, wonderful thing. And I eat it at least once a week.
I don't understand vegetarians. I mean, they want to save the animals, yet they'll go and eat their food. I just don't understand.
No. I need to defend my wife's honour here. Honestly, it just has never liked eating meat. And we have leather sofas. I've got that ridiculous coat. She's got leather shoes, more shoes than the Melda Marcos. There is not a single piece of ethical sort of thinking behind it at all. And I have to say, I've enjoyed the challenge of doing vegetarian food, which doesn't depress me over the last sort of year and a half. And some of it's quite good fun. I mean, the one thing I just do as a matter of course now is avoid meat substitutes. If you eat meat substitutes are just inevitably disappointing. There's no possible way around it. You know, doesn't matter how many times Mo Farah tries to advertise it, it still tastes like arse. So, you know,
it's a way he said it's a way in the advert. It's protein. Get some protein into your workout.
Yeah, it makes it sound like Soylent Green.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a bit.
Well, if anyone had watched the trip in Italy on Friday night, Rob Brydon and Steve Coogan were debating whether or not to eat, if they crashed in the Andes, whether they'd eat Mo Farah's legs because they'd be quite nutritious, and whether they'd start eating them while he was still alive by putting a tent up so he couldn't see them noshing away on his leg. If he broke his back, broke his spine so he was paralysed from the waist down, put a tent up so he can't see what they're doing, and start eating his legs while he's still alive, keep them fresh. If you haven't seen the trip in Italy, I do recommend it. It was really fun. I know, Ed, please don't go off on a rage about how much you hate Steve Coogan. It was really funny when they did the Michael Caine off. Michael Caine is that all they can do? It's always Michael. No. They start doing it. Michael Caine in Batman in the Dark Knight Rises, talking about saving all his emotion of Master Bruce. You know, I won't bury another Batman. And then they go off into doing Al Pacino, of course, Tom Jones. They do a fantastic Morrissey that's really funny. It is worth watching. Plus, also, if you like food, it makes you hungry at the end of it too, because they're eating some great restaurants. But worth seeing.
Still got Steve Coogan in there.
Yes, I know you won't watch it, Ed. That wasn't aimed at you, obviously. It was aimed at the five other people listening to this broadcast.
That's another one to add on to the list of Ed's hates. I think we should do it just before Christmas, just to impress everybody.
I think it would take all Christmas to record it, won't it? By the time he's finished ranting and raving about what he hates. You can just start the recorder with Christmas.
You just have to do me in shifts. You'll just turn up as like the guest, the guest for me to rail against in sort of hourly instalments.
Right. Okay. Mr. Withers, what did you think?
Big fan. I definitely up for that. I love a bit of linguine. Love some mussels. Nice pasta sauce. Can't go wrong. Yeah, love it. Fantastic.
You just can't help yourself, can you?
In what sense?
I just love a bit of mussels. You could have just said shellfish. You could have gone seafood, but no.
Well, no, you see, I don't like a lot of shellfish, but I do like mussels. And I don't mean the ones covered in baby oil at the ends on the rock's arms.
So really, so you like mussels, but what shellfish don't you like?
Well, no, I don't know. I'm not. I do like a mussel though, every now and then. But a lot of other stuff is a bit fiddly. You know, getting them out of their shells and that sort of stuff. Can't be bothered with it.
You see, I mean, maybe because obviously I eat them more because they're comparatively cheap. But I've had more bad experiences with mussels than almost any other shellfish. In some regards, I'm sketchier towards them than I am against almost.
Well, see, I had an episode when I was about 9 or 10 with seafood, and I've never touched it since. I think we were in Spain, and I had a paella with seafood in it, and it made me really ill, and I've never touched fishy stuff again.
Well, you see, I've never eaten sardines since I was 6 because I ate sardines for the first time. And the very next day, I had chicken pox, and I've never been able to disassociate the two things, even though
absolutely no connection whatsoever.
Yes, I can't separate the two.
I'm the same with quavers.
A similar experience.
Kid threw up on the school bus. Can't stand the smell of them.
No
segue from that.
Did the kid throw up on you?
No, it was just on the bus. And it wasn't good ventilation, I'll be honest.
Yeah, I can imagine on a school bus.
See, if anything, it's actually worse now, because back then you could at least open the tiny slight slit windows, whereas now on air-conditioned stuff, you can't open any windows. You just have to, you get a cold vomity smell, but it's a vomity smell nonetheless.
Anyway, thanks for the cooking tip, Mark.
Some vomit discussions.
Sure, everyone's raring to cook it now.
Yeah, between chicken pox and vomit, I'd be right off.
Yeah, it sounds interesting, Mark, but it's not one I would eat. So I'm going to pass on that one. I think I passed last week as well on the pancakes, didn't I?
You've passed on everything he's done so far, Phil.
No,
apart from the hamburger.
The burger, I'm all right.
Yeah, I was surprised. You went for the hamburger.
And still such time as it's a deep fried something nestling in an iron brew juice.
You need to widen your culinary horizons. You really do.
I don't think I can please everyone on this podcast with one single recipe.
Yeah.
Just find one that pleases Phil. I think that's what.
Do you know what, Mark? That could be a long term one. I want you to use iron brew as a.
I could make a Chinese sausage in iron brew, I reckon.
Yeah, I reckon you
Colours,
could
right?
as well.
Sweet and sour iron brew with iron brew in it.
Ooh, sounds good.
Well, actually, Iron Brew put me off drink. That's why I don't drink alcohol.
Yeah, hang on,
It was
Iron Brew's not alcoholic.
No, it was Iron Brew and Southern
It is
Comfort.
if you leave it out in the sun.
No, it was Iron Brew and Southern Comfort, and it went down so well that it came up really better. It went down. I never touched drink again.
I don't know. That must have been a spectacular colour.
Yeah, because I've said that on many occasions. Where I've gone
Short
back.
of having of putting a McDonald's strawberry milkshake in there, I don't know how much you could have improved. I do remember. Sorry, if we're falling down this chasm anyway, we may as well ride it to the end of that. Years and years ago, I had a McDonald's shortly before I took a Dover to Calais ferry crossing in the weather conditions that were just about as bad as it could be before they tell the ferries to just lay up and just wait for something better. And I was lavishly sick over the side. And my enduring memories as we drove away from the ferry, I'd left a big pink splodge over the O of P&O.
Yeah, I'm sure we've all got stories of being sick on things that we shouldn't have been sick on.
I apologise to the man whose briefcase I threw up into on the Northern Line back in 1992 when I thought it was my briefcase. I didn't realise until next morning I opened up my briefcase and found out that there was nothing in it. And I realised that I'd picked up the wrong one in desperation. So if you are listening and you did find your briefcase full of vomit the next day, I apologise profusely.
Yeah, and if you get in touch, I'll give you the address so you can be properly recompensed for that.
Once snogging a girl in the back of a taxi, and in a desperate attempt, I thought, oh God, I've got to vomit. I said, point out, look at that. And then, in the 80s, you used to wear those baggy jumpers with the baggy arms. I vomited down my sleeve. And so I just kept it in my bagging, this baggy mass in the bottom of my elbow of the sleeve, and my arm at one angle. While I continued snogging with that, missing a beat. She must have been quite drunk herself.
Was she a goth by any chance?
No.
It must have been like one of those things they used to decorate cake.
If there'd been a hole in the elbow, that's exactly what it would have been, yeah.
I did once projectile vomit over a whole restaurant.
Oh, there you go.
On Christmas Eve.
While you were cooking?
No. It was
This Landstar was taking me forever.
It was a social event. It was Christmas Eve, if I remember rightly. There was a big group of us, and we were in a very posh restaurant in Prestbury. And we had these drinks called what was called a Greyhound, which is three spirits. One of them was Drambuie, and the other I can't remember. It's kind of a layered drink, so it's in stripes. And I just drank one of those, and it came up very fast again, and I sprayed the whole dining room. It was pretty embarrassing, to be honest.
I haven't done that.
I do remember years ago, still working for Cambridge Audio. I'll spare the name of the person involved in this, but I don't know what it was about hi-fi shows, but you set up and you think, right, okay, we set up, and even people that didn't normally drink, weren't teetotal, but barely drank at all, would suddenly feel the inescapable urge to just get absolutely banjaxed, and we wandered off and got annihilated. And the following morning, we opened the stand, and my colleague was basically just standing in the corner with her head down and sort of just hunched in on herself, basically doing everything she could to just not die. And this bloke wanders onto the stand at 9:02 in the morning, all set to ask some questions, and he just goes, excuse me, and she just looks up and just threw up all over him. So yeah, that wasn't great. He was actually quite happy in the end. We gave him a free DVD player and a Cambridge Audio polo shirt. Seemed all right for that. So
So he had a clean polo shirt to put on, but he still had sick all down his trousers, did he?
I don't know. I can't remember how badly she hosed him, but he seemed quite happy with the compromise. Was a bit of sick compared to a shiny, as it was, progressive scan DVD player. Wait.
Fair exchange.
Progressive scan.
I noticed Simon's been very quiet here.
Well,
I
I
forgot he was on
can't
this
add
show.
to any of it, can I? I can't add to any of that. I mean, I've got similar stories. Sitting in a pub thinking, I'll be all right, and just vomited in my lap.
The worst one I've ever seen was in a nightclub, and a guy downed a pint. Right, he's obviously been getting egged on by his mates. He then threw up into the glass and then drunk it again.
No, that's just wrong.
That's just no.
Big
Sounds like
wrong.
Nick nominate.
Who else has
That's
been
Mark
quite?
trying to show he's still with it and trendy.
Yeah.
That's one of my friend's sons. I saw it on Facebook.
Does the V in AVForums stand for vomit now?
Yeah, can I just say to the younger listeners that it's not big and it's not clever,
No, it's not.
but it is quite funny.
Steve Jobs
But
especially.
it's very hard to get out of curtains.
We're still talking about vomit.
Right, we can get this finished then. We've gone wildly off topic here, to say the least.
It was a nice recipe, though.
Yeah. Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, Mark. This in no
Okay.
way reflects the quality of the recipe. That was quite nice.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, they
thanks
would
for
do
that,
if
Mark.
the muscles were off.
Look on the bright side. At least this conversation wasn't tacked on to the end of Mark doing a korma recipe. I mean, that would have just.
Actually, that's a good point, Mark. You should probably point out if the mussels haven't opened when you cook them. Don't eat them.
I did
Did you
point
say that?
out.
You
I
said
did.
okay, good. Yeah,
Very
thanks.
responsible. I am.
Yeah, he did say that. I can confirm. And he didn't say last year. He said last week.
And I didn't say Boba Fett. I said Baba Fett. Fettuccine.
You did say Baba Fett.
I
Actually.
did, yeah. But it didn't sound like that in my head.
You were thinking Baba O'Reilly, weren't you? The Who song?
No,
Yeah, give him an excuse.
I
Give
just
him an
have
excuse.
difficulty speaking.
Right, okay. So that was AV Snack. Thanks so much, Mark. Let's move on swiftly. What's at the cinema, Steve?
We had two films this week, Divergent and Noah. Divergent is the latest in a continuing saga of young adult adaptations. So after the success of Twilight, basically every studio's been looking for a young adult series of novels that they can turn into movies. You've had most recently Hunger Games, obviously, which has been very successful. And more recently, last summer, I saw had to sit through The Mortal Instruments, which didn't do that well. And this is the new one, Divergent, which I've got to say is a young adult story that seems to be written by a young adult, frankly. And looking at the writer of the book, that's actually the case. I think the first novel came out when she was 23, but she started writing when she was doing a degree. She would have been in her late teens. And it is like that. It's like, imagine someone said, okay, let's look at what's currently popular and we'll pick all the best bits, lob them into a story, chuck in things that teenagers will think's cool, and we got ourselves a book. And that's how it feels like. So you've got elements of things like Harry Potter. So it's set in a post-apocalyptic world in the city of Chicago, which is surrounded by a big wall. And within this world, everyone lives within 5 different factions. And the idea is that each faction is got certain attributes that would apply to society in general. So the 5, okay, just to get this straight, the 5 factions are abnegation, who are selfless; amity, who are peaceful and do all the farming; candor, who are honest and run the judicial system, which is obviously nothing like real life; dauntless, who are brave and are basically the military; and erudite, who are the intelligent people and the scientists. So you can already see the level of subtlety we're going for here. And you basically do a test when you're 16, and depending on how the test comes out, you either join one of these 5 factions, unless you're divergent, and then you could have factors of elements of all 5 factions, and that's regarded as a bad thing, because it particularly by the erudite faction who want to take over. And basically the plot revolves around a girl called Beatrice Pryor, who takes her test at 16 to discover she's a divergent, and then the plot sort of develops from there. It involves a hunky guy, obviously, who there's a relationship with. At least in this one, there isn't a 3-way love triangle, which makes a nice change. And she ends up joining Dauntless, who are the brave ones. Basically, by brave, I mean they run around a lot, they jump on and off trains. They're a bunch of really annoying dicks. The kind of people that skateboard a lot, jump out of helicopters and snowboard down sides of mountains. Really real show-offs, basically. Got some tattoos, because basically tattoos are cool, so kids are like that. And then as the plot evolves around her kind of going through her training within Dauntless, falling for this guy, and then a wider plot develops about erudite trying to take over, and because the abnegation faction actually technically are in charge, and erudite think they should be in charge. Basically, the film lasts about 2 hours and 20 minutes, but it's only the last 20 minutes where the plot really kicks in. So it's like a massively long prologue for something that might be a bit more interesting in the second film. It's done quite well in the States. I don't know if it'll do so well here, but it certainly looks like there'll be more of these books, unfortunately. And it's produced by Lionsgate, who also produced Hunger Games. And obviously, they're desperate for a new franchise to take over from Hunger Games, because that will be finishing next year. The depressing thing was it wasn't the most ridiculous film I saw last night, because then I went to see Noah. No, basically Divergent's cobblers, but Noah's even bigger cobblers.
Yeah, but we all know the story of Noah, and we all know it's all made up. and a fairy tale. So we don't.
At least
need to go there.
there's rock monsters in it, so they don't even try
Rock
and
monsters?
Now you see, I don't remember reading about them in the book.
No.
Got to be completely honest about this.
They're the fallen angels. I think there is something in the book Genesis about giants actually, and these are the giants basically that are referred to in Genesis. I mean, obviously it's all crap, but yeah, they're fallen angels and they're encased in rock, which can hold them to their earthly bonds, and they have to move slowly. But it's basically an eco warning message about being nicer to the earth, or we're going to be punished for it in some way.
Punished by whom?
Bit
Punished
like
by
our
whom?
winter then.
Well, yeah, we've already had our biblical flood, didn't we, over the Christmas? So that's nice.
There'd still be a hosepipe ban.
Yeah, there will be 2 days of sun and there'll be a hosepipe ban guaranteed. What Russell Crowe was thinking, I don't know. And had Emma Watson's a terrible actress, and it was just Ray Winston just playing Ray Winston as usual, one trick pony that he is.
Sweeney versus the Ark.
Yeah, and he gave you live odds as it went on.
Yeah, it was cobblers. I was bored to tears, to be honest. Looking at my watch, thinking, when's it going to end?
Okay, so that's Divergent. No, I take it they're both
Don't
zeros.
bother with either.
Right, okay. Quickly moving on, because we're running out of time. Blu-ray is released this week and next week. What, we're not talking about them next week, are we not?
I thought we should really be talking about next week's releases, because we go out on a Wednesday, so it would make more sense to say what's out on the following Monday rather than talking about what's already out that week. Don't you think? So that's why I thought we'd do. But I thought I'll do this week, because there wasn't much out next week, basically. This week and next week.
So yeah, okay. That makes perfect sense. Steve, on you go.
This week we've got The Hobbit, Desolation of Smaug, and Oldboy. Oldboy's review's already up, went up today on the Monday, thanks to Kaz. Simon, I got a bone to pick with you. Why is no one reviewing The Hobbit? Come on, this is our demographic. Right, we're
I am.
Get on with it.
I'm going to review it. I ordered it today.
I've had mine for 2 weeks. I've had it 2 weeks. Nobody watched it. Just for the record, then picture quality superb, audio quality superb. Extras obviously aren't fantastic, but they're not bad actually for not the special edition version, but the extras are okay. The film.
Why? Yeah, and why would you buy this knowing that there's an extended edition probably going to come out in a couple of months?
I'm assuming if you're a fan like me.
I don't think there's many of them.
Not less. They're getting less by the day.
Yeah, okay.
Next week is Nebraska, which I believe Kaz is working on at the moment, and also Walking with Dinosaurs in 3D. Yeah.
Okay, so that's the Blu-rays that are released this week and next week. And finally, just a quick one for Ed. It's Record Store Day soon. When is that?
That's a fantastic question. Give me a moment.
Nice to see that you're. We knew we were talking about this right at the start, so good to see you've done your research.
Sorry, you asked me about dates.
19th of April.
I'm never very good at dates, but as Steve so kindly points out, it's 19th of April. And why should you be enthusiastic about participating in it? Well, simple answer is that Record Store Day is designed to celebrate our independent retailers. Let's face it, with HMV a shadow of its former self and almost everything else going online, they are often the sole presence left. They've actually out-survived the things that were supposed to.
There's one record store within 100 miles radius of me. One.
Yeah, but you live next in Winterfell or whatever.
No, I'll tell you, there used to be one almost in every corner round here, and they've all gone.
I'm afraid there are a scant number of survivors, but they are now destination stores. They were always the best, and in many ways, to survive in these tough times, they've become even better. Record Store Day is designed to celebrate these stores, and the reason why you should care is that if you do have a record player, I stress that that's perhaps the buy-in required on this. On the day every year, certain records are released that are unique to Record Store Day. They will not feature in any other medium. They do not appear on. They appear online the day after on eBay for a massively inflated price. But if you want them at a fixed price, they will be in stores. Now, the thing is that there's normally a list released shortly in the run-up to the day itself of things that you can expect to find. But what's much more fun is that normally there's a couple of releases that literally come in under the radar. Now, this time last year, quite and literally with no warning at all, 3 EPs from a Scottish band called Boards of Canada appeared, and prior to those appearing, it had been the best part of a decade since anything from them had actually been released. And within the sad little world that I inherit, it just went crazy. And it preluded it was the prelude to the release of their first album in years and years and years, called Tomorrow's Harvest, that was released later on in 2013. And essentially it's one of those things where it brings a bit of buzz back to physical media in the only way really that it's possible to do now. It harnesses the power of the internet to celebrate doing something the old way. And I kind of like that. And the reason I brought this up this morning is to, it's actually become quite an established thing for music now. And I'm beginning to wonder if this is what potentially might end up being required for the business of physical film media as well.
Well, I do miss the days of going to Manchester or getting on the train all the way to London to scour the stores for Laserdiscs. That used to be the appeal of that, Steve, wasn't it? I mean, you were probably one person that did that as well in this group. Trying to find obscure laser discs or stuff that you knew was released but nobody could source it and so on, and then you'd walk into a store and find a copy and pay £100 for it. I miss that. I miss that side of things. That was long before the internet, though. I don't know about you other guys.
For me, it would probably be kind of games-wise. There have been a couple of games that I kind of used to scour for. I was kind of hopeful that I'd see in larger stores, and these days, as you say, kind of since the advent of everything being listed online, and also not just everything being listed online, you also now know the value of everything online. So you can see exactly almost what that market value is of something that you've been trying to get hold of. Yeah. And that becomes either inflated or there's a massive amount. Whereas there was a lovely kind of sense of potluck of how much will you be willing to spend if you do finally see it. Yeah.
Now, there used to be record fairs and all those kind of things, computer fairs, computer game fairs, all that kind of thing. It used to be a big day out, didn't it, Steve?
It used to be great going to record fairs and flicking through all the different albums and singles, looking for that one gem that you'd heard about that never found, or just. I used to buy things like programs from like Floyd concerts in the 70s, that kind of stuff, all kinds of great stuff. And now it's either it's just not available or you just look at it online. It's just not the same. There's a sense of community about going to things like record fairs.
When I was a DJ, it was always white label stuff.
Yeah.
Always just taking a risk on something. What is this?
Could be anything in there, couldn't it?
It could be.
Hey, Barry Manilow's latest song before you knew until you played it at home.
Well, but you, Simon, were you, back in the day, were you somebody who went scouring for stuff?
Yeah, I used to go to memorabilia fairs to pick up videos, actually. Various uncensored versions of films.
That's enough of that, Simon.
Yeah, I know what you mean, the old video nasties and that kind of, because it was the only way you got your hands on them was getting it from other enthusiasts, wasn't it?
Exactly.
These types of things,
I used to go to, I went to NEC, it was probably the biggest one I went to in Birmingham, football field pitch size area, full of people trying to unload illicit material to other enthusiasts.
So what did you dress up as at these things then?
Funnily enough, there used to be a few, not very many. I'm going back 20 odd years, but there used to be the occasional Stormtrooper or Darth Vader, but nothing.
Now Collectomania has sort of taken that thing on, and I'm pleased to say that when it comes to buying music, we all just dress as dishevelled vagrants. I don't know whether
and wearing hobos.
But Ed, you'd be seen as the young upstart at these things nowadays.
You'd be surprised. Hipsters are annoying in this regard because some of them are weirdly wealthy, or at least they have less overheads in other areas, and they're prepared to spend a lot of money tracking certain stuff down. So they're a weird subset. It's not on which a group on which you base the future of survival of any format. But no, I'm 33 for my sins, and I am rarely, if ever, the youngest there by any margin at all. There are, but don't know whether they're buying the records and they actually bother to play them. I've never felt the compulsion to ask. But no, there are children running around buying records as well. So
yeah, I think I've got a couple of these hipsters on my Facebook feed. They are annoying people, aren't they?
Yeah, but that's one for my Christmas diatribe. So
right, okay. So we have to wrap this one up. If you're interested in Record Store Day, check out the websites www.recordstoreday.co.uk. Go and check that out, and it's like Ed said, it's on the 19th of April. Right, so that's it for the AVForums podcast. Mr. Hodgkinson has had to disappear to look after the kids. So my thanks to Steve Withers.
Stupid thugs. People behaving like that.
Mark Botwright.
How do you say banana daiquiri?
Ed Selley.
banana daiquiri.
Simon Crust.
Oh yeah, a buffer. The family had a lot of buffers.
Don't forget, you can follow us on Twitter and Facebook, bookmark avforums.com for latest reviews, news and video. Plus, you can leave us a rating on iTunes if you enjoyed the show. I'm Phil Hinton. Thanks very much for listening, and we'll see you again next Wednesday.